Hey, what's up guys, it's Kes. Today we're going to do another commentary video. This time it's going to be on Necrotic Wake. And this one's going to mostly be a guide on how to do the Cleaver tech in the high Necrotic Wake keys. Sort of clear up a lot of questions there. You know, as the Yog Evoker, you're mostly soloing the Cleaver, so a lot of you guys have asked me to sort of make like a instructive video on how to do this. I'll still probably go over a couple, you know, surviving things and general pointers for Og throughout the video, but the entire second half will literally just be, you know, how to do the Cleaver stuff and walking you through that. We will jump right into it here. Very important that you have Sleepwalk and weyrnstone for this strategy. Those will come into play later. We'll go over that, but getting in this first pull here, immediately, honestly, Obsidian Scale and Renewing Blaze. Sorry, mute the audio there. You want to just layer defensives early in this pull, get your damage out. Important as well that you put one bombardment on the Gatekeeper and one on the Corpse Harvester, which is the Drain Fluids Throw Flesh guy. Those are like the two deadliest mobs to the group. The rest is just tank damage. You know, surely your tank lives. No tank would ever die on the first pull in Necrotic Wake. So yeah, get those bombardments out on those targets, and you can farm Eons back pretty quick on this pull. Yes, those were moats I picked up. I have been playing moats build. If you are playing very high mastery, the moats build is probably the most damage you can get. It actually low-key owns your Shifting Sands, ends up doing like as much as Ebon might. Anyways, sorry, distracted. Moving on here. The Drain Fluids mob in the back, we hex him, and then we get this Crafter in, and we use the Crafter to kill the Gatekeeper. We miss there, which is unfortunate. Ideally, you kill this guy in like 2 Cleaver tosses. If he lives longer because you keep missing, you know, people could start to fall to this pull, as he does do a lot of damage. And definitely has an HPS requirement, so I think we actually missed like every single one on him. So this is a good example of what not to do. But again, once you take him down, we then bring the Crafter over to the Harvester in the back here, and then we're gonna Crafter this guy down, and then from here we're gonna go boss with the middle pack. One thing you can do on the Gatekeeper pulls is you can't knock the Gatekeeper. So any like, if the Throw Cleaver mob is like a little bit off the mob and not in push range, but there's like soldiers on the Gatekeeper, you could push the soldiers off the Gatekeeper to ensure that the Cleaver hits. Or if your DK is a gamer, Nade does this a lot. You like grip the mob to the side so that it has a better line of sight to hit the mob that you're wanting to hit. If you're doing this middle pack on boss, so basically if you're doing the same route as us, the very important thing here is that you kill the Corpse Harvester. Your DK has 2 grips, so it needs to kind of die in that frame. Otherwise, it's just going to sit in the puddles and throw flesh at you. And if you get throw flesh plus the frontal, the boss mechanic, you are dead. So make sure that guy is a priority. He is killed. Don't let these worm fixates get to you, right? Now, you didn't catch it. As soon as we entered combat with this pull, Greg, our priest, he mind controls the Throw Cleaver guy, right? The Flesh Crafter. So you see we have him mind controlled there. Once all the trash is dead, we're going to drop him, and then he is going to be with us the rest of the fight, and we are going to Cleaver the boss, right? And it's gonna make 2 things. 1, it's gonna be a faster boss kill, and 2, sometimes it's going to kill the worms, and honestly that's not a bad thing, because those things make the game quite unplayable for melee, because if they hit you, depending on the key level you're doing, it's probably a one-shot, right? So yeah, make sure you're taking control of these worms. When we do the turnaround here, You see, like I did there, I like to push them away to let us like turn around easy and give us a good lane. The flesh crafter, when he starts to get low, I'll like knock him away from the boss too, just so we can like eliminate extra cleave on him and maybe get like, you know, +1 cleaver into the boss or something like that. This boss in general though, make sure you guys are checking Not Even Close, the website, to see how you need to live the boss mechanic. Obviously, if you have sack on you, it's an immunity to the mechanic, but you can only sack every other one. So in my case on 18, I need like obsidian scale plus Zephyr to live, so like double layering things. But just make sure you know what you need. The worst thing you could possibly do is go into like an IO key and die to a boss mechanic and be like, oh, I didn't expect it to do that much damage, because we have resources and online calculators to tell you how you need to live them. So make sure you do your research. It takes literally 2 seconds. But yeah, after this boss, I have weyrnstone on Zor here. He goes and grabs the spear, and then we're gonna drag these mobs by, and he's just gonna weyrnstone to me. This weyrnstone isn't anything overly important. It honestly just makes sure that, like, because he's so far behind us, he weyrnstones to me so that he can get ahead of the shadow well that we dropped in the lane, because there's only like one lane to walk by because we skipped that necromancer, right? So it gets him ahead of the shadow well, and it keeps him up to speed with the rest of the group. Yeah, in this pull, you know, obviously make sure someone's kicking the fear. You have a kick rotation on the necro bolts, and then the bone men heal. It doesn't do too much, but if you have a spare kick for it, definitely stop it. And all Aug Evokers, make sure you are looking to cauterize your tank. The bone flay tank mechanic is extremely lethal. If you're in disc with them, obviously, you know, communicate with them. Are they dwarfing? Do they need caught, bubble, whatever, right? But make sure you're looking out for cauterizes. This pull, again, if Narzuda picks you with the circle mechanic, the Grim Fate, you always just like wall renew, and then you can also hover it for an extra layer of defensive against this ability. It's good to do. Very easy to live this guy, nothing too crazy. Again, just make sure you're kicking on cooldown. If you're in Discord, you know, take the upper hand, be the Aug that calls the stops on these kicks. Do your best to help out the group, right? And yeah, we'll actually just move ahead. I want to try and get to the crafter stuff as much as I can. So like I said, there won't be as much like Aug related living and rotational stuff like this, or in this one like I did in the previous ones. This pull here, you can't solo the Frostbolt volley with just a kick alone. You would need to use like a stop in between your kick as well. But so what we do is I kick the first one, Yoda kicks the second one. We keep it simple. But make sure you're getting kicks on the volley. Because we can't DK control the mage, because Nade already has a pet, which I'll talk about Nade's pet in a second. We kill the necromancer first so that it doesn't like keep spawning ads over and over and like get overwhelming. So we eliminate those, and then you're just left with these two marauders. Now with these two marauders, again, if you're in comms, or if you want to type this in party chat in your no Discord pugs, just pay attention to which one casts the shield first, and then be like, okay, X's shield is first, so everyone, when X's shield goes up, you know, let's focus our damage into X. Let's make sure we break the shield, right? You don't want to be cleaving both of them and break neither of them. You want to make sure that you're breaking one and then swapping your damage to the other and trying to break that way, right? Because each time you break their shield, they lose a ton of HP. Rescue skip there, very easy. Nothing special to it, just make sure you find the right spot. get the rescue. Greg then mind controls one of the caster mobs, and we walk it over, so there's one less kick at the start of the pull. We get the big guy in, we lust here. If you're doing this pull, again, if you're following our route, I didn't do it in this moment. Not sure why I didn't, to be honest, but what I usually do here is I oppressing roar my Breath of Eon stun so that everything's sort of stunned for a while we're just blasting in our cooldowns, right? And then I cast Spatial Paradox here, and I just move up to the door. Don't get stunned, right? Don't go all the way through the door because you'll get stunned. Just like wiggle your way in the door and trigger the boss RP, so that once the pack is dead, the boss will spawn and you can just get right into it. Again, we're looking for cauterizes here. So Yoda has 2 stacks right now, right? If I wasn't in Discord with him, and we're communicating our caught, if I see like 2 stacks on my tank on this pull, I'm probably immediately ripping it, to be honest. Very, very scary debuff. Again, I have a shield here. We have all our pickups are planned, but I grabbed the shield right after the rescue skip, and I'm ready to go into melee if Yoda calls it. So I can use the shield on him for DR. That's that pull. It is a very tough pull, but honestly, one thing that has helped our group get through this is, so you guys see how Nade has a Vanguard mind control that he's been carrying with us throughout the key. This is what our tank uses for tempered and battle healing. So he puts his like sacred weapons or whatever they are. I'm not exactly sure how the paladin thing works. Whatever it is, he puts it on that mob, and then he leeches that mob's health instead of like stealing health from our group. And you can do that just by making like a simple macro, right? This boss, what we do is we put Yoda with his kick and all his shields plus our shaman on kicking the boss, and they control the boss's kicks. And then I get a Frostbolt volley and Nate gets a Frostbolt volley. And basically what we do is we like rotate Divine Toll, and it's like Divine Toll, Grippy Hands, Divine Toll, and then kicks in. Every single set, once they're grouped, ideally you do some AoE stops on just the Frostbolt casts. If you have 2 of them on you, it could kill you with the in combination with the dot from the boss, the AoE. Zephyr works in this situation. It's good to press, make sure you use it. Renewing Blaze is very strong on this boss against the Rot. And the AoE starts as soon as he does the Final Harvest, right? He does Final Harvest, he sucks all the ads up. It puts a dot for like 25 seconds or whatever it is, right? So I always like try to immediately Renewing Blaze or press a wall or a Zephyr or a rescue or something like that. Nothing too special on this boss, just again make sure you get your kicks, do AoE stops. You can use a pressing roar and Eon stun when the ads are grouped. That's really good. In your pugs, you know, things might not get gripped in as efficiently, so look to get behind mobs and knock them in as well, so that they're in getting cleaved down. But moving ahead here, we go up to the upstairs, and this is where honestly the video starts. This is where things get fun. So right away we start with this corner pull. Again, this is probably pretty common for everyone at this point. What we do is our tank solos the kicks on one collector, the rest of the group's on the other, and then we focus down the collectors. The reason why is like the throw flushes actually at this key level just like they just destroy you. Like they chunk your HP so much, and if you have 2 of them on you or you get back-to-backs and you don't get topped in between, you're probably dead, right? Plus they have 2 kicks, so we get them out of the way, and then we're just left with mobs doing tank damage. Again, this crafter, we don't mind control him. He's just free, right? Hitting the stitch work there. So we get max efficiency out of this crafter before he just dies, and then we don't worry about this one at all. Nate also swapped his pet, so he dropped the Vanguard and took the Loyal Creation. The Loyal Creation is the one that does all those like circles on the ground and knocks the mobs around. And then we're gonna kill that guy off at the end of the key. So that white circle there is fake. I didn't need to move out of that. It's kind of confusing to train your brain to like stand in the spine crush, but yeah. So what we did there is we pull the far pack, we let him cleaver, and then from there we CC, and then now this is where everything starts, right? So throw cleaver, and then I'm already pre-casting a sleepwalk, right? He throws a cleaver, I sleepwalk him. One thing you want to be careful with is Mass Eruption has like a massive like AoE radius. So always try and have yourself like away from cleave range of the crafter, or have him behind you when you're casting eruptions so that it's not a possibility. Honestly, if he's just far away, you don't even need to worry about it, but yeah, very important that you have a spell CD on nameplate thing, so you can see that the cleaver has 1 second now. Okay, now it's available, right? As soon as you see it's available, you just break it, right? And how to break it is I always Living Flame into Azure Strike. And those two globals pretty much always guarantee break it. If you're not in Ebon Might, you might need a third global, which in that case it'd be like Living Flame Azure. But if you're in Ebon Might, you're doing 20% more damage. It should break with those two globals. Now, once we cleaver down the pack in the corner with him, right? We break CC, we cleaver, we CC, we break CC, we cleaver, right? Follow that. Once that pack is dead, your priest needs to mind control him, okay? So your priest mind controls him, which then tricks the game into starting the RP to spawn this like gauntlet, let's say. Once you see the boss start talking, the mobs will spawn, and then what we do here is we drop the CC, we drop the mind control in the back, and our shaman has a pre-existing root totem down, so it's going to get rooted when it comes out of the mind control so it doesn't run at anyone, and then the shaman is going to hex it. So anytime we have long breaks, RP breaks, breaks between the pole, whatever, we're going to hex. We're going to use a longer CC because Sleepwalk's pretty short, right? So we hex there, and then we just go on and we do this pull. We hit these first two things. We actually have the guy loose here, so Greg fears. And then we get the hex sorted, right? Then he's safe. No worries. If you guys are learning this, one thing I want to say is you are going to encounter a lot of scenarios that are problematic with this strat. Don't get frustrated with each other, just work through them. Honestly, we went through 1,001 different scenarios where there were problems, and we're like, oh, okay, you know what, at this point we've seen every possible outcome with this and we know how to solve it, and then like more issues come up, and then like there's just so many variables to this thing. But you'll learn that on your own when you do it. You can break him on this pull if people get double cleavers and you don't hit every single cleaver on the mobs. When there's one guy left, you can break him and use him to finish off the pack, if you want to do that. But from here, right, I saw that the cleaver was available, I break it, he throws one, I sleepwalk him. Now you'll notice with my sleepwalks, I'll go over this more on last boss, but so he was over on the right, he throws, I sleepwalk him to the left, and then I'm probably gonna like reposition myself over to the right, and I'm just gonna keep sleepwalking him back and forth across like the same line, because what you don't want to like sleepwalk him forward closer to the pack, right? You just want to go like horizontal with him, keep him out of cleave range, keep him out of mass eruption range, all that stuff, right? Paladin shield range, anything like that. So you see, I just switch sides with him. Okay, it's available. I break it. I landslide him just so I can get some damage out here on my own and not have to worry about the sleepwalk for a bit. Usually when I have eons is when I like, okay, I'm gonna landslide here so I can like get my damage out and blast a bit. One very important note is you want to work alongside your shaman. You and your shaman should be buddies in this situation. The easiest thing we found is if I break the cleaver and the cleaver targets me, I have to run into melee to make sure the cleaver hits the pack, right? If that happens, I say, oh, okay, can you hex, right? So if I get cleavered, it's always the shaman's hex, because if I get the cleaver, I go hit the cleaver, and then I sleepwalk from melee, it's going to sleepwalk the mob into melee, and then it's going to break, and then it's going to be in, and then that's when chaos starts happening, right? Whereas if it picks me and then he hexes it, it's just going to stand still, right? You know, it's not going to go anywhere. And then I can get back out and reposition myself to break and then get back into my sleep rotation. Just going to pause here quickly. One thing you saw while I was yapping there was after this left corner is dead, usually what I do is I like rescue Nade to like the middle, and then he's going to grip the mob once, he's going to grip the mob twice. So it's in a good position, in good range, good evoker range, right? We have short range, for me to break it and still do damage to the pack. So yeah, pretty simple. Again, I see Cleaver ready, so I Living Flame Magic Strike, right? It picks me, so this is where you need to be aware, right? It picks me, so I hit it, but my shaman just died. Do you see how I landslide there? This is where, like, if you ever have to CC, if your shaman goes down on last boss, if he dies, if he's not around for whatever reason, if you get the cleaver on you, this is the perfect time to landslide. Like, do not sleepwalk, because you're just going to pull the mob into melee. If you do not have landslide and you need to sleepwalk, cast a sleepwalk, immediately run to the crafter and push him away. Again, just scenarios that you're probably going to see come up. Get used to them. Figure out how to problem solve, right? Because, oh, there's a good example too. So you see, this is why your positioning matters so much. So look where I am right now. This is really bad positioning for me. My eruption, my mass eruption, is probably going to break this. Boom. You see it right there? This is mass eruption cleaving to this mob. Bang. Breaks it. So your positioning is very important. Right? Because now look what happens. The mob is in melee. It's chaotic. We can't really control it too much, right? If this happens, in our case, it's fine. We just say, like, we've been through this enough, right? At this point, we're like, okay, just leave him in. Let him like free cleaver. We'll hit whatever. We'll finish off the pack, and then we'll mind control him and get him out because the pack's low. If this pack was like healthy, and this was like really early in the poll, how you recover from this is the priest mind controls, walks him out. You put a pre-root totem down. It gets rooted when you drop the mind control. Let it throw, and then you re-CC it, right? But that's like really annoying. You don't want to have to do that. But there is a solution, right? If that does happen. So just be aware of that. So again, we kill Rot Spew, and we mind control the mob to a safe distance, pre-root totem, drop it, hex it, and then we're not even thinking about it for a while, right? We're just fighting the boss. If you are just starting to get used to this cleaver tech, I would not recommend using it on this boss. Using it on this boss is quite difficult, quite hectic. But I'll still go over on how we do it if you want. So Cleaver is over here, boss is over here. I eons through the boss so that I'm in a good position to break the mob. But what's going to happen is I get my damage out, right? We're just blasting. I'm going to bait the puddle far. I don't want to bait the puddle in my melee, right? So I bait puddle far. Doesn't go on me, goes on Greg. He's also out of melee. Good, right? Now, the fixate happens. As soon as the hook cancels the fixate, I break this mob, right? Yoda is like tanking them on a horizontal here, and the mob is at the back of the room. The fixate is done, it's canceled. I break it. We hit the cleaver. I always landslide this one. The reason why I always landslide this one is because it just gives us more time to worry about fighting the boss, dealing with any of the boss mechanics, right? I don't need to worry about sleeping. I know the cleaver is targeted someone. He's going to try and hit it, right? And then from there, my next thing is the next hook goes to the stage, right? So I can start positioning for that. So I just landslide him and then worry about him after we deal with the boss mechanics here. If you hit the creation here, it's totally fine. It's not the end of the world. Obviously, ideally, you hit the boss, but again, you never want 2 A-bombs up, so if it hits him, it's fine there too. So you see there, like I said, we slide, do the boss mechanics, and then I turn around and we CC'd him again. Then the next step we do is he goes up. Once the hook brings him back down, we immediately break, because this is a very good opportunity to line up another cleaver here. So boss gets hooked down, I immediately break. It's on Zor. And again, in this situation, we hit the boss there, which is sick, because now the boss is dead. If the cleaver would have hit the creation, it would have killed him, and then you would have had 1 A-bomb up, right? So this is just a win-win cleaver, honestly. It's either going to kill the A-bomb or it's going to kill the boss. So that second one of the fight is very good to do. Now, you can get more creative and throw more of these on the boss fight, but we have found through many trial and error that just throwing twice on the fight, plus our damage and our lust, has been enough to kill the boss every single time. So yeah, from there you break the CC. What we do is we walk the mob. We can actually rewind this a bit. So we're gonna break the CC. We walk the mob to the dead center of the portal here, right? We hodge him, mind control, right? So he's stunned in the middle of the portal. Then we mind control. Then we go up top. And then we just like pretty much stand still, right? Don't wiggle around too much. Snaps don't like when you move, like they just like when you stay still. And boom, he snaps up. We walk him to the corner. And then from here, our strat is, because this boss sucks, we want to kill this boss as fast as we can. But we want to use cleavers on every single shield. A cleaver is always going into a shield. A shield is almost never killed with damage, except the first one of the fight. Okay? So because of this, right, we only 1 speared last boss. We have 2 spears. So we are going to... we're going to wait for our 2 minutes to come up. So what we do... Oh, we actually don't do it in this run. My apologies. Our new strat, however, is we drop the crafter in the corner. Yoda blocks every single one. We let our shaman build Tempest stacks, right? And we wait for our 2 minutes to come up, and then we spear the boss and use 2 minutes on pole so that we have a fast boss kill. This also just sets up everything well for the rest of the fight. But anyways, in this case, we didn't do that, right? So what we do is we drop the crafter. He has his cleaver queued up. We stun him to delay it, and then we pull boss, right? We pull boss, we let this first one hit. There's a pre-existing root totem in the corner here, right? So I can get my damage out. I don't really need to worry too much about him. Something breaks it, right? Okay, we hex it, right? We're communicating this stuff. Again, this stuff can happen. So because we're cleavering on pole, the first shield, like I said, is the only shield that you should have to break with damage, right? So we're using the first cleaver for boss damage, and then we're breaking the shield with all of our cooldowns and a spear thrown at the boss on pole, right? So because we're all up and blasting, that's what we do. Now from here, this is where you literally take over the whole fight, okay? So he's CC'd in the corner. Again, be very careful with this positioning. This is within range of mass eruption breaking the CC, which I think happens in this VOD. But anyways, your job here is to hit every single shield with the crafter. So you see the icebound timer, when it's like 4 seconds, right? You start casting your Living Flame. Living Flame Azure Strike combo pretty much always breaks it. You see this shield goes up on the boss, and the cleaver is about to throw. Now again, it picks me, so I landslide here, right? Boom. The shield's broken. Shield's broken after 2.7 seconds. You can get cute with it and break it at 0.0. If you want to do that, it's like 5.4 seconds is when you can start casting, but I honestly wouldn't recommend it. It's too risky. Again, it breaks. We re-CC it. Okay. I look at my timers. I start casting. I break it. Here is another scenario that can happen. Nade is downstairs. We break it. The cleaver picks nade. You have to be aware of this immediately, right? So I immediately recognize this. I run over to the mob and I tail swipe it. And I hope it recasts on us. Okay, it recasts on Greg. Perfect. Shields up. Cleaver's throwing. We're chilling. It's a little bit delayed because of what happened, but again, this is just something that can happen, right? So you got to be aware of it. Now you see here, I kind of sneak myself into the corner and I'm going to sleepwalk him away. Oh, Zor hexed him too. All right, then we're just going through the fight. Still try and keep your ebb and might and your buffs up and do your damage when you can. So there. Boss is too close. And it gets cleaved by my mass eruption, right? So boss needs to be further back, or my positioning needs to be further back. Right? But okay, it breaks. So what do we do? Right? We just let that one hit, and we're communicating that Nate and Yoda have damage, right? If they didn't have damage, we would have delayed the cleaver so that it hit the shield, but because the Nate just came up, he has all his cooldowns, Yoda's in wings, we're like, just let it do boss damage. And we're just going to break the shield. Pretty easy. Right? No stress. If you have like one shield, right? Like you just need to talk to each other. If a shield's going to go off, we have damage, you know. Because we're cleavering every shield, your personals should be pretty available to just use whenever you need them. So that's what we do in that case. Again, we're just watching our timers. I re-sleepwalk here, right? Because we used it on boss damage instead of the shield, the cycle of my sleepwalk lasting long enough for the next one kind of gets messed up. So I had to, right? I look at the timers. I'm like, oh, my sleepwalk is falling before we need the cleaver for the shield, right? So again, just you're literally just watching timers the whole fight. Okay. Now I break it for the shield. Targets Greg. Boom, shield instantly gone. Just like that. And there's a pre-existing root totem on him because I have my eons and I want to get my damage out. So Zor helps me out, right? Again, your shaman can help you a ton. It's sort of just a communication thing. Again, mass eruption hits there. This time it's my fault. It's like camera angle based too, so I could have either been in a different spot or had a different camera angle and it wouldn't have broken that case. But same sort of thing. We're like, okay, just use it for boss damage and then nobody's going to get sent down again. And we had damage so we can break the shield, right? 4-second shield. Super, super easy. So like you see, this wasn't the cleanest cleaver use. But like I said, you're gonna have these moments with your team. You're gonna figure out how to make the most out of this. You're gonna run into problems where it didn't work, and then it's like, okay, what can we do to make the most out of it still, and kind of like fix what's been broken, right? If the Cleaver runs into melee, there's a few ways you can do it. You can MC to fix it. You can leave him in. You can pay attention to the timers and like delay it with a stun or whatever so that it naturally lines up to hit the shield. You can use it for boss damage to push it to the threshold so that no one gets sent down. Stuff like that, right? There's so many options. I didn't choose the best VOD of like me soloing it up here and it being like perfect, like a 2.5 minute kill, because I wanted to kind of show you guys like some of the potential issues to hopefully help you like smoothen out the learning process and how like give you answers to the, oh, what do we do in this situation sort of thing. And then at the end of the fight, we still have Nade's pet, and if you guys don't have this creation pet and you just have the Cleaver, have the Cleaver hit Xandria, or in this case we have the creation hit Xandria, and then Xandria just kills the mobs for us. She's got hands. She just punches them and bang. But yeah, that's pretty much it. There is another strat where you can kind of carry the Cleaver the whole key. We don't do that, so I can't give too much advice on that, but yeah, basically, you know, just all your priest has to do is mind control like 1 or 2 times, and then from there you're just sleepwalking it back and forth, readjusting your positioning, breaking it whenever the Cleaver's off cooldown, sleepwalking it again, breaking it, sleepwalking, knocking it back, landsliding it. You know, you'll find a rhythm that works for you, and then yeah, you can use this to hopefully time some big juicy keys for your title or your rank 1 push and stuff like that. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.